Smoke was seen in the skies over Lebanon as tensions continue to rise in the Middle East. Civilians are bracing for more conflict following Israel's assassination of Hamas and Hezbollah leaders. Iran and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah are vowing to retaliate against the country.
The U.S. has issued a do not travel warning to the Middle Eastern nation due to civil unrest and armed conflict. A growing number of countries are also urging their citizens to get out of Lebanon. Joining us now is Professor and Chair of the Department of Political Science at Oakland University, Dr. Peter Trumbore. Thank you so much for being with us.
Happy to be here.
Now, this conflict is not necessarily new. It's just escalated, correct?
Oh my, exactly. I mean, things have gotten worse since last October with the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel, and then Israel's subsequent retaliation. That has inflamed the situation across the region, with more than 30,000 Palestinians having been killed over the last 10 months. Countries like Iran and the Houthis in Yemen and the region in general is just on sort of a razor's edge. Mm-hmm. And everyone is sort of hoping that things will not continue to escalate. And that's the real risk right now.
Yeah, there's been so much bloodshed and the tension just seems to only get worse. And as the situation continues to evolve, it's kind of hard to track progress because once you think that we've made a step in the right direction, then something else major happens, right?
Right, and there really hasn't been any significant progress to speak of. Ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas have been moving slowly. Over the weekend, Benjamin Netanyahu's own chief security officials came out and were publicly critical of the slow pace of negotiations. There is some sense that the Netanyahu government is simply slow walking these negotiations. At the same time, the fact that the political leader of Hamas, who was assassinated a week ago, was also their lead negotiator in these truce talks. And so that obviously is a hamper on moving things forward in a more diplomatic way. Iran has pledged to retaliate against Israel for both the killing of the political leader of Hamas, as well as the assassination, also last week, of a leading Hezbollah figure. And so there are some real dangers right now.
Yeah, and with statements like that being made, the vowing of revenge, is a ceasefire even possible at this point?
It seems unlikely. It seems unlikely for several reasons. There's not a lot in it for Hamas at this point. They've already suffered significant losses, and it's difficult to see how they move forward as an organization without really giving up more than I think they're going to be willing to. At the same time, Benjamin Netanyahu's grip on political power in Israel is tenuous. There was a lot of opposition to his leadership. The war sort of set that all on the back burner. And so you could argue that he has personal incentives and personal reasons to want to continue to drag this out. And unfortunately, and as we see in any war, the longer this goes, it's innocent civilians who suffer the real brunt of the conflict.
Yeah, and that is so unfortunate. As this continues, of course, another fear is that this could get larger and then spill over. Right. Do you see the U.S. having any kind of involvement moving forward, or is there anything that the U.S. can do to try to help?
I think our options are really limited. I don't think there's any prospect right now of direct American involvement. If in places like Lebanon, Americans begin to get targeted, we could have a replay of what we saw in the 1980s when, of course, American military personnel went into Beirut. That did not end well. It ended with the death of several hundred American service personnel in a suicide, one of the very first suicide bombings in the region. I don't see us having a direct role in sort of militarily. I think we continue to try to work the levers of diplomacy. Certainly President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu have met recently. And the Biden administration has been trying to pressure the Israeli government to move more quickly on these ceasefire talks. I think that's really our biggest opportunity.
All right, Dr. Peter Trumbore, the Department of Political Science at Oakland University, Chair and Professor. Thank you for helping us understand this.
Sure thing.